Hi friends! It's March 1st, which means the book picks for Aardvark Book Club are up, and my plan for this video is I have been doing a really horrible job of reading my Aardvark Book Club books, and I'm not sponsored, I'm not a rep for them or anything. They're just a company that I really enjoy, and I've really liked the books that I have gotten from them in the past. They always have a really interesting mix of books on offer each month, and so we're going to go through what the picks are for March, order my book together, and then when it comes, I'm gonna read it. Interesting concept. So I'm gonna start screen recording and we're gonna go through it together. I haven't looked. Their Instagram does a lot of hints, but I just haven't looked at them before. I'm so bad at guessing. So, okay, we're off to a good start. We've got The Unworthy by Agustina Bazterrica. I am not gonna get this one because I did not like Tenders the Flesh. And so she is definitely not somebody who I am going to be buying books if I read from her again. It is definitely going to be through the library. She tends to lean more literary horror than I enjoy. All right, the new Stephen Graham Jones, Buffalo Hunter Hunter. This is definitely a contender. I really like Stephen Graham Jones, and this is, I believe, a vampire story. So excited about that. You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pelago. So this is a thriller. I don't read thrillers, so we're going to skip that. Upon a Starlit Tide by Kel Woods. Fantasy, historical fiction. It says it's a dark and enchanting historical fantasy combining elements of The Little Mermaid and Cinderella into a wholly original tale of love, power, and betrayal. Maybe. Historical fiction and fantasy usually only vibe for me if there's a romance component, like if it's a historical romance first with a little bit of magic thrown in. But generally, just like historical fiction and fantasy together is not my favorite. Back After This by Linda Holmes is romance. I do not buy romance anymore. I mean, I will if it's somebody that I trust, or if I've already read it from the library and I loved it, but I usually don't buy it. Just like, this is not an author I've read before. I have not read Evie Drake Starts Over, so that is probably a pass for me. And then book number 5 is A Strange Case of Jane O by Karen Thompson Walker. I am interested in this because I have read a book from this author before and I surprisingly really liked it. She's definitely literary fiction, but I do not want this one more than I want Buffalo Hunter Hunter. So we're going to go with Stephen Graham Jones, which I'm excited about because I Was a Teenage Slasher from Aardvark Book Club last summer, and I ended up really liking it. So I'm going to get that in the screen recording because you don't need to see all of my payment and billing information. I'm really excited for that to come, and then we'll read it and it'll be a fun time. All right, I have a little book haul for you since, as you saw, I went to the library and the bookstore. First off, from the bookstore, I had ordered a copy of Coup de Grace by Sophia Ajram. I read this horror novella in February from the library and absolutely loved it, and just knew I needed a physical copy because this is definitely a book I'm going to reread. I just loved the writing so much. There's a really fun convention, or like, I don't know, like a structural thing towards the end that totally caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it. And it just makes me want to reread this so badly. So I ordered my own copy, and I'm just so excited to have this book. And then from the library, I picked up some things that are on my TBR for March, and then something that is not on my TBR for March. So the books on my TBR are A Grave Matter by Anna Lee Hubert. This is very shiny, but book 3 in the Lady Darby mystery series, which is a historical, cozy-ish mystery series. And I'm just trying to work my way through it one book at a time because it's very, very long. And then the other one that's on my TBR is Abortion, Our Bodies, Their Lies, and the Truths We Use to Win by Jessica Valenti. And this is also very shiny. And this is for the Betty Pages Challenge Yourself Reading Challenge that I participate in every year. And I also might be filming a new nonfiction vlog, maybe, and might be reading this for that. I'm hoping that this is actually a book that is informative and not a book that is just shouting into the echo chamber, if that makes sense. Because I've read a couple of books where I was really hoping to learn something new or get some good insight or talking points or, you know, what have you, and it ended up being like the author is just shouting about a topic. And yes, I want to shout about abortion too, but like that's not what I'm looking for out of a book. Does that make sense? Like I can read a blog post or watch like an Instagram reel if I want to hear someone shout into the echo chamber. If I'm picking up a book about a topic, I want like tangible things that I can do. And then the one that's not on my TBR is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This is YA horror. I have been seeing this get excellent reviews and I want to check it out. It's not too long, so hopefully I have time to squeeze this in. It's also new, which means I cannot renew it, so wish me luck with that one. My little book haul. Later today or tomorrow, depending on what my time is like, we are going to work on my reading journal. We're going to wrap up February and then finish setting up March. I'm a little behind and I'm just waiting to get tracking notification that my Aardvark book is on its way. Well, I just got home from doing my run at the gym and it's here, finally. I'm heating up my lunch in the microwave, so that is gonna go off. There it is. And I wanna unbox it before I shove food into my face. I'm so hungry, but I'm so excited. And, okay, we'll do a little unboxing. I don't know how to do unboxings, but we'll do it. Here's my little Aardvark book box, book club, bookmark, book. How many times can I say book in one sentence? That's that. Ooh, they made it thicker. Okay, so this part used to be super narrow. I think narrower than this. And the ears, I was always bending them and breaking them. Always, always, always. So I like that it's a little bit thicker. And what we really care about. I'm so excited. Oh, kind of chunky. I know nothing about this except it's a vampire story. I don't really know that I need to know anything other than it's a vampire story. I hope I like it. I hope I like it. Nothing so far, it's naked hardcover. Nothing so far has beat out My Heart is a Chainsaw for me. Book one in that series in particular is my all-time favorite, Stephen Graham Jones. And then my enjoyment of that series Actually, no, I was going to say it went down as I went through it, but I really like Don't Fear the Reaper. And then Angel of Indian Lake, I didn't love as much, but I think that's more because of the time gap in between. Like, there was a whole year for me in between reading the first two books and reading the last book. And I think that was to my detriment, and I didn't reread before I tried to read it. And then I liked The Only Good Indians, but it wasn't a favorite. And I was a teenage slasher. I didn't like it first, but that grew on me as I went through it. And I ended up loving the ending. And I haven't liked his short fiction that I've read. I tend to prefer Stephen Graham Jones in a long format. So I'm hoping that I'll love this as much as I love My Heart is a Chainsaw. Like, that's my hope every time I pick up a Stephen Graham Jones. So yay, now I can finally start this. I'm so excited. But first, we must eat. Alright, so it's only been about 2 seconds for you. It's been a full week for me to give you some updates. And I don't have a lot of updates to give. So this book came out today, so much for reading it early, and also so much for this video concept being like a quick and easy one. It's taking me all month. But I realized pretty shortly after I started this that Stephen Graham Jones really works best and makes the most sense to me as an oral storyteller. So I pre-ordered the audiobook on Libro FM, and it came out today. I restarted the book, and not that I wasn't enjoying it because I liked what I'd read already, but I think his writing flows so well when it's being spoken out loud, and I'm just having such a good time. So far we have two different timelines going on. We have present day with our main character, well, not present day, it's like 2012. Our main character, Etsy, who is a PhD student, and it comes across somebody at the college that she works at comes across journal entries that end up being from Etsy's multi-great grandfather. And so we're getting Etsy writing almost like a thesis paper kind of thing about this journal, and then we get the journal entries of this priest in 1912. Okay, so there's a 100-year difference. So that's as far as I've gotten. So not a lot. Haven't like kind of have touched base on like the stories that are around, like I think the like vampire component, but I'm really enjoying it. It's multicast narration on the audiobook, and it's really, really well done. So I will update you as I get further, but like I said, I this morning caught up to where I had read physically, and I intend to keep going with the audiobook because it's just so good. Also, if you get the traditionally published version, not the aardvark book, it has red spray edges, and it like looks so good with like the red lettering on the book and then sprayed edges. Oh, that's my lunch. Like, this is the second book I've gotten from Aardvark Book Club where the regular published version is like really pretty. Like Death of the Author by Nettie Okorafor is so pretty, especially the naked hardcover, and I low-key regretted getting them from Aardvark just because, like, not regretted because I love Aardvark and like I want to get books for them, but man, the other ones are really pretty. Before I go and I eat my lunch and I do the things I want to do, before I go make my lunch and sit down and read some more, I do have some book mail from Macmillan that I want to open with you because, you know, this is still the ultimate book video, so we're doing all things bookish, even if it's not the quick project I thought it was going to be. And I am pretty sure that these are books that I requested, but I could not for the life of me tell you which ones they are. I just hope it's not the one I picked up at the bookstore today because that would be sad. I mean, not sad, but no, would not be ideal. So the first one is, oh, it's the new John Scalzi, When the Moon Hits Your Eye. Fun! I am looking forward to this. I actually already have a copy of this arc, but I took it from the bookstore, so I'll take that back and then read this. I have only read John Scalzi's newest releases. I've read the Kaiju Preservation Society, which I loved, and then Starter Villain, which I liked. He has kind of started doing like goofy, absurdist sci-fi, I feel like. And I heard, I can't remember from where, but I think Kaiju Preservation Society, Starter Villain, and then When the Moon Hits Your Eye all kind of exist in the same universe. But this says the moon has turned to cheese and now humanity has to deal with it. So I think this will be fun if ridiculous, but I am always down for ridiculous time. And then the second book, why are these tabs so hard to open today? Oof, it's chunky. Well, it is the book I picked up. It's The Martian Contingency by Mary Robinette Kowal. Okay, this is great. This is another installment in the Lady Astronaut series. I really love that trilogy. I'm not so sure that I want another book in that world. And yeah, and we're still following Elma. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know that this is a book I need, but I really love that trilogy. And I think Mary Robinette Kowal's writing is lovely. So I guess now I'll definitely give it a try. Okay, well, thank you, Macmillan, for these two books. I'm really excited to read from these two authors who I have really enjoyed in the past. Now I'm gonna go eat, and then we're gonna read more of Buffalo Hunter, which I definitely called it the Buffalo Hunter the other day. That's not right, but you know, we're just doing the best we can. Okay, I'm about 36% of the way into Buffalo Hunter, and I will say I'm not loving it. There is like a level of remove to the storytelling so far because we have so many different timelines going. We have the 2012 with Etsy Bucharn, who finds the diary. We have the diary of this Lutheran pastor from 1912. And then the Lutheran pastor in his diary is recounting a story or recounting events that he was told by a Native American man about the atrocities he committed. So like we have a lot going on. We have a lot of different storytelling things, or a lot of different people telling the story. The primary ones are the Lutheran minister, who is Etsy's great grandfather, and so that one is the primary one. And now, like, finally I feel like we're getting the perspective more of the indigenous man, whose name is Goodstab, but he is still, it's his story as he is telling it to this Lutheran man. So I have been struggling to get into it because I felt really removed from it as a reader. I also have to continuously remind myself that for me, Stephen Graham Jones's horror is really slow to get going. I remember feeling that when I read The Only Good Indian, and maybe with The Angel of Indian Lake, that one I feel like took a little bit longer to get going. I'm looking at all the Stephen Graham Jones books on the shelves. I guess the exception would be The Angel of Indian Lake, that the first two books aren't as slow to get going. And maybe My Heart is a Chainsaw is still slow to get going, but because of Jade being such a great main character and having such a strong narrative voice, I didn't care that it took us a while to get going because I was just so enamored with Jade as a character. And then Don't Fear the Reaper is just like a gasoline fire. You're just going from the jump. And then I had a similar problem with I Was a Teenage Slasher. Not that the action and the horror doesn't start early with that one, because it kind of does, but it took me a while to get into that book and to like our main character, or to just care, I guess. So I guess this so far is kind of fitting. So I would say that is probably the rule with Stephen Graham Jones, and my experiences with My Heart is a Chainsaw is the exception. So I'm going to say that this is kind of following the rule for Stephen Graham Jones books. However, we've had several chapters now in Goodstab's POV, and so I'm finally feeling like I'm getting a grasp on what is going on, and we've had more horror elements suddenly. There's been more body horror, the gross stuff has started happening. So I'm hoping I will get into it more. I don't know how I feel about the historical element. It's fine. Honestly, I liked how he was writing Etsy at the beginning, so I kind of miss Etsy's POV, even though I know she's not the main character. She's not the story Goodstab is. And because, like, the Lutheran minister is our way into Goodstab's story, there is, like, a fair amount of racism and, like, the kind of language you would expect from somebody who lives in 1912, and with the relationship between, and, you know, just with the way the United States views Native American people. But that, I think, is, you know, part of Stephen Graham Jones. Like, that is a topic he is going to tackle in his book. So I don't mind it. I'm not complaining about it. I just want to let you know that there is racist language in this book because of who our primary narrator is. I'm hoping Goodstab is going to become the primary narrator now that I'm 160 pages in. No, so we're going back. Okay, so maybe now we're alternating between the minister and Goodstab. It's not quite 500 pages. It's not quite 450 pages. I'm worried this is going to be too long, though. I'm a big, fat, lying liar who lies. I did not update you while I was reading this. So sorry, but I finished it. First of all, I think I don't like vampire stories anymore. I think I am burnt out on vampires. Not necessarily on creature feature books, because I do like a good creature. I still like werewolves, I still like other ones, but maybe just not vampires anymore is what I'm feeling. I am, right now, I have given this a 4 on Goodreads. That's more for the ending, because as always, Stephen Graham Jones knows how to write an ending. Like, the ending of this book was so upsetting and heart-wrenching and fast-paced, and just like, I feel like he really shines at his endings. They're always, for me as a reader, they're always so well done. But I struggled at the beginning so hard. I'm not even the beginning, like the first half. So maybe that's just like my journey with Stephen Graham Jones. This is largely a revenge story. And we are primarily in journal entries. And, you know, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's a very like odd storytelling structure, because the 2012 timeline is only at the very beginning and then again at the very end. And those were my favorite parts, was the very beginning with Etsy, and then when we went back to her at the end and the story really ramped up from there. And then the rest of it is a mix between Arthur Bocarn, the Lutheran minister, his journal entries, and then his journal entries recounting the story Goodstab is telling him about his transformation into a vampire. And even though I didn't love a good chunk of this book, I found Stephen Graham Jones's like vampire mythology fascinating. Like the way he, like the lore that he introduced specifically for like his type of vampire is great. Commentary on racism and the way Indigenous people are treated in the United States, also great. Spot on, flawless. Like, that's never gonna be something that misses or is a complaint for me. Those are always like the highlight of his books. But I just think it's the second vampire book I've read this month, and I just don't think I like vampire books anymore, is really what it comes down to. And this is very historical fiction. We are in 1912, and like I said earlier, because of the way this story is structured, it's not even being told through a Native person's lens, it's being told through white people's lens. Just some things to know, to consider. Not my favorite Stephen Graham Jones. I would say this is out of his, I haven't read a ton of his books, but like out of the ones that I've read, I would say this is most closely aligned with The Only Good Indians, especially since like those two are both revenge stories. I would say this one is less weird than The Only Good Indian. And also, I am going to just reinforce what I think every time I finish a Stephen Graham Jones book, where I don't know that Stephen Graham Jones likes dogs. So, there's that. But now that I finished, it means we can finally close out this ultimate book video. That was supposed to be short, sweet, cute, breezy time, and now has taken pretty much all month. Because it is like the 23rd of March. But it was a cute idea. And I'm glad that I have read my Aardvark Book Club book in the month that it came into my house instead of having it just sit on the shelf for months and months and months. Probably also helps that it is a Stephen Graham Jones book. I don't tend to leave his books sitting unread on my shelf for too long. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed following me on this adventure. And if you would like to leave an emoji to let me know that you made it to the end of the video. Is there a buffalo emoji? I feel like there must be. So I guess a buffalo emoji or a vampire emoji, one of those. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one.